Daf Yud Gimel of Vayikra, summary of a beautiful Maimer Sheishis Yomim. So the Maimer begins with a few questions regarding the psukim about matzah. First of all, it says, eat matzah for 6 days, and the 7th day will be a special holiday. That's Shvi Pesach. It implies that through eating matzah for 6 days, we will be able to achieve Shvi Pesach, because otherwise, really, we eat matzah for 7 days. So we need to understand the concept of what matzah accomplishes and how it and what Shvi Pesach represents spiritually. Also, in Egypt, they only ate matzah for 1 day, and they still had Shvi Pesach, where there was the splitting of the sea. So how did it work there without eating matzah throughout the whole Pesach? And finally, there's two of the times where it says Atzeres at the end of a long holiday. Pesach at the end has Shvi Pesach, which is called Atzeres for Hashem, whereas Shmini Atzeres after the long holiday of Sukkot is called Atzeres Lachem, a holiday for you. Why is Shvi Pesach for Hashem, the Shmini Atzeres for you, for the Jewish people? Also, it says that in another pasuk that the reason that they ate matzah is because there wasn't time for the dough to they were in a rush, and therefore the dough didn't rise, it didn't become chametz. And we say a similar thing in the Haggadah, that we eat matzah to remember that we didn't have time to bake bread because we were rushing out of Egypt. But there was a mitzvah anyway to eat matzah on that day, and therefore it's nothing to do with us not having time. It's simply because the mitzvah was to eat matzah. And why then do we give this other reason that's seemingly irrelevant? So the basic answer is that there's a difference between two types of matzah. There's the matzah before midnight and the matzah after midnight. The matzah before midnight, that's the matzah without a vav, and represents the basic level of matzah. And then the higher level of matzah is the matzah which is spelled matzos with a vav, and that vav represents godly revelation, and that was what was achieved later, and that is what we want to commemorate and bring upon us as well, the matzah after midnight with the accompanying godly revelation base. So now, before we talk about matzah and explain the answer about matzah further, let's talk about food in general. So how does food energize us? We come from a higher spiritual source than food. So how does food give us energy? The explanation is that the food itself wouldn't give us energy. It's that there's godly light inside the food that energizes the food. When Hashem said, let there be trees and plants and everything, so that word of Hashem energizes the food. Yes, Hashem also said, let us make man. So we also have this godly energy from Hashem's word, but the energy in the food is actually higher. Why? Because the food comes from Olam HaTorah, this high world of powerful energy. It's called the world of chaos because the energy is chaotic. It goes everywhere. It's unlimited, but also unruly. And therefore, when we eat, we help the food by elevating it to the state of a person, medaber. But the food also helps us by elevating us to the world of tohu, which is the source of the food, whereas we ourselves, humans, come from tikkun, the world of rectification, where things are more organized, but on the other hand, you don't have the same level of powerful godly light that physical things, especially animals, plants, and inanimate, have more than people. Though that, yes, they have this great spiritual energy, but it's concealed, and therefore they need us in order to lift them. But then we too can be lifted through their spiritual source. So when we learn Torah and do mitzvahs with the energy that we received from eating the food, then we actually can daven better and learn better, because we also now have this power of tohu, which was within the food. So now, going back to matzah. So when we eat matzah, just as regular food helps an infant say daddy, the Gemara says that the infant can't say Abba until he eats grain, bread, or something made of grain. Similarly, we can't recognize and say Father to Hashem until we've eaten the bread of matzah, the holy bread. But within matzah, there's two levels. There's the basic level that gives us a basic recognition and basic faith in Hashem without understanding, so it's below understanding. And then we have the higher matzah, the matzah after midnight, which is the connection and the yira, the reverence of Hashem that we can reach after understanding. So the basic one is before we have understanding, just basic faith. Then we come to understanding and relationship with Hashem. And then there's the yira, which is above understanding, and that's the one after midnight. Now, the matzah before midnight, because it's only all it has is this faith, so it needs to be protected, because if anything goes wrong, then it's finished. And that's why the matzah before midnight can become chametz, and we have to be careful with it. Whereas the matzah after midnight, it can't become chametz, and that's the meaning of the pasuk in Haggadah. It couldn't become chametz because it was from such a level, such a high connection with Hashem and such a high level of revelation of Hashem, the Vav representing revelation, like we said, that nothing could go wrong. There was no sense of ego, which chametz represents ego, and therefore no need to protect it. And therefore, although there was enough time for the matzah to become chametz, although they had miraculous quick travel, but still there was enough time for the matzah to become chametz, but it wouldn't become chametz anyway. We'll continue the Maimah tomorrow.